What if I told you that in a really high-speed, chaotic physical fight, relying on your eyes is like practically a biological death sentence?
Right,
Yeah.
because visual reflexes are they're just too slow.
Exactly. I mean, if you wait to see a punch coming, process it in your visual cortex, decide how to react, and then, send a signal to your
It's
arms.
probably been hit.
Yeah, you're on the floor. To actually outsmart brute force, you have to bypass your visual cortex entirely. You basically have to, like, hack into your opponent's nervous system.
Using your skin.
Right. Which sounds, I mean, it sounds totally like science fiction.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
But it is pure, highly tuned biomechanics.
Hmm.
And that concept actually forms the entire foundation for the source material we're unpacking today.
Yeah, so for this deep dive, we're pulling from the translated manuals of traditional Tai Chi master Cheng Tin Hung, and we're bridging that ancient text with some modern academic research.
Specifically, the work of cognitive scientist Dr. Andreas Schotter.
Exactly. And, to really anchor this, we've got this intense video playing in the background of our studio today. It's kind of the perfect visual backdrop for this deep dive.
Yeah, it's two martial artists engaged in freestyle pushing hands, or Tui Show.
And it is intense. Like, it's highly competitive, really fast.
They are practically throwing each other across the room.
Yeah, but without ever actually throwing a single punch, which is wild to watch.
It looks almost like a standing wrestling match, but there is a hidden, incredibly sophisticated physics engine powering that whole exchange.
Right, and that's our mission today. We're going to decode that exact physics engine. We'll look at how this specific pushing hands drill builds the attributes for brutal self-defense.
And how it eventually translates into actual free sparring, which is called Sanshu.
So by the end of this, I promise you will never look at Tai Chi as just like those slow motion park exercises ever again.
Definitely not. But before we can even dissect the chaos of the pushing hands in that video, we kind of have to isolate the fuel source.
Right, the engine inside these athletes, because it's fundamentally different from, the standard gym-built muscle strength we usually associate with fighting.
Completely different. So in the traditional Chinese texts, the tense, rigid, muscular force, the kind you see in a standard boxing match, that's called Li.
Li, okay.
Yeah. But Tai Chi relies on a totally different biological mechanism, which is called Jin.
Right, and Master Cheng's manual has this really brilliant thought experiment to explain the mechanical difference between Li and Jin.
Oh, the stick in the whip analogy.
Yes, so imagine you're holding a stiff, thick wooden stick in your right hand. And in your left hand, you've got this flexible, braided leather whip.
Right.
Now, if you swing both of them in a wide circle using the exact same amount of kinetic force from your wrists...
The wooden stick move, sure. I mean, it hits hard.
Yeah, the tip of that flexible whip, it literally breaks the sound barrier.
Exactly. The softness and the flexibility of the whip actually create this mechanical multiplier for speed and force.
Which is so counterintuitive when you think about fighting.
It really is. But the Chinese character for Jin actually illustrates that multiplier perfectly. It combines the symbol for strength with the symbol for water flowing beneath the surface.
Wow, water flowing beneath the surface.
Yeah, because muscular tension, Li, it exhausts your body's energy reserves so fast, you're burning massive amounts of oxygen just to keep those muscles rigid.
Just to stay tense.
Right. But Jin relies on relaxed, highly conditioned fascia, tendons, and flawless skeletal alignment.
I noticed the texts use a ton of metaphors here, like comparing someone with deep internal energy to a massive river that can easily float a heavy ship.
While someone with that rigid Li is just like a shallow puddle.
Exactly. But physically speaking, I mean, what's actually happening in the body? Because if someone attacks me with a ton of heavy force, and I'm just completely relaxed,
they're just going to collapse.
Right. I just fold.
And that is exactly where the training methodology known as Neigong comes in.
Internal work.
Right. You aren't just going limp. You're systematically rewiring how your entire body supports its own mass.
Okay, so break that down for me.
Well, the Neigong curriculum is divided into two distinct sets. The yin set focuses completely on your constitution and this concept called panjin.
Rooting energy.
Exactly. You are training your connective tissue to become highly viscoelastic.
Meaning it essentially acts like a giant shock absorber.
Precisely. I mean, think about it. If I hit a rigid, brittle structure, like a wooden board with a heavy hammer.
The board shatters.
Right, because the kinetic energy has nowhere to go. It just breaks the structure. But if I hit a highly pressurized, thick rubber tire with that same hammer...
just bounces right back off.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the yin set of Neigong trains your skeleton and your fascia to channel all that incoming pressure straight down through your legs and directly into the floor.
So it completely bypasses your muscles?
Exactly. You're not using muscles to fight the force.
We should actually have you test this on yourself right now. If you're listening to this, whether you're sitting or standing, just consciously, intensely tense up your shoulder and chest muscles.
Like you're bracing for an impact.
Yeah. Notice how your breathing immediately gets shallower. And notice how your center of gravity feels like it instantly rises up into your chest.
That feeling right there is lead.
Right. If someone shoves you while you're doing that, you'll tip over like a bowling pin.
Because you've literally made yourself top-heavy and totally rigid.
Right. So once you train that yin set to drop your center of gravity and become that shock absorber, then what?
Then you move to the yang set. And the yang set is all about fojin, which is the explosive release of energy.
Releasing all that stored pressure.
Exactly. You learn to take that grounded rubber tire structure and whip it outward. You're utilizing the ground reaction force. The energy travels from the foot, gets steered by the waist, and then expresses through the hands.
Which brings us directly back to the laboratory where all this energy actually gets tested.
The pushing hands we're seeing in the video.
Right. But here's my question, and I think a lot of people struggle with this. If the core philosophy of Tai Chi is yielding to an opponent's force, you know, the old saying, people are hard, I am soft, how do you ever actually win a competitive match like the one we're watching?
Because it just sounds like retreating.
Yeah. To my modern brain, yielding just sounds like losing slowly. Like, I retreat until I run out of room, and then I just get hit anyway.
Well, the key is that yielding, in the context of Tai Chi biomechanics, is never a retreat.
Okay.
Yielding is actually a structural trap.
A trap.
Yeah. The goal is to create this physical state that the classics describe as, I am smooth, the opponent is awkward.
Oh, wow. You can actually see that trap springing constantly in the background video right now.
Right.
One competitor pushes with this incredible aggressive force, and the other guy seems to just melt away.
And suddenly the aggressor is stumbling forward.
Completely off balance and totally vulnerable.
Right. And you set that trap by utilizing 5 core principles. Stick, connect, cotton, follow, and don't resist.
Cotton meaning softness.
All right. Exactly. If your opponent pushes your chest with rigid force, pushing back is just 2 rams crashing heads.
And the heavier ram always wins that game.
Always. So instead, you stick your forearms to theirs, you remain as soft as cotton, and you yield your chest backward at the exact speed of their push.
Oh, I see.
Because they are subconsciously expecting your resistance to hold them up. Right. So your sudden yielding creates a vacuum.
They literally overcommit.
Yeah. They push their own center of gravity right out past their toes.
They fall into the empty space that you just engineered for them, and the millisecond they lose their balance when they become awkward, that's when you use that explosive Yang Fa Jin to launch them.
Exactly. But to bring it back to your intro, you cannot time a trap that precise using your visual reflexes.
Right, the eyes are too slow, so how are they doing it?
This is where the science of listening, or Tingjin, becomes like the most vital software a martial artist can install.
But it's not auditory listening.
No. It's entirely tactile. Through physical touch, your nervous system is literally reading the opponent's structural data.
And this isn't just ancient mysticism. Dr. Schroeder's research backs this up with hard biological data.
Oh, yeah. He cites this fascinating 2004 study by Zhu and some colleagues published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine.
Right. They brought long-term Tai Chi practitioners, swimmers, runners, and a sedentary control group into a lab
to test their proprioception,
which is the body's ability to sense its own position and movement in space without looking.
Right. But the methodology of that study is what's really crucial here. They didn't just ask these people to balance on one leg or something.
No, it was way more advanced. They put the participants on these specialized motorized platforms that passively rotated their ankle and knee joints.
At like imperceptibly slow speeds.
Exactly. And the subjects had to press a button the exact millisecond they felt their joint angle changing.
And the results were wild. The Tai Chi group just obliterated the other groups.
Their kinesthetic differentiation was significantly sharper.
Yeah, their nervous systems were firing so much faster, mapping that spatial data and those microscopic shifts in pressure with incredible accuracy.
So when you apply that hyper-developed proprioception to an actual martial encounter.
That is Tingjin. When you cross arms with an opponent in pushing hands, your nervous system is basically reading their muscle tension as if it were your own body.
Which is mind-blowing. And the texts outline 3 distinct stages of mastery when it comes to this tactile awareness.
Right. Stage 1 is unconscious.
That's the one we all know. You get hit, you're lying on the ground, and you have literally no idea how it happened.
Exactly. Your visual processing failed, and you had zero tactile awareness.
Right. So what's stage 2?
Stage 2 is hindsight. And honestly, this is deeply frustrating for practitioners.
Why is that?
Because you're touching the opponent, you feel their weight shift, your brain actually registers the incoming attack.
But your body's motor response is still just a little too slow.
Right. You know you're about to be thrown a split second before it actually happens, but you still get thrown.
That sounds infuriating. Which brings us to the holy grail, stage 3. Foresight, preemption. We touched on this earlier, but mechanically, how does a human being feel an attack before it actually happens?
Well, because an attack isn't just one motion. It's a kinetic chain.
Okay, explain that.
Before an opponent's hand can ever push your chest, they have to root their back foot. They have to tense their calf, shift their hip, and engage their shoulder.
Right, the power has to travel up the body.
Exactly. And all of those micro movements send vibrational pressure right through the physical connection of your crossed arms, milliseconds before the actual push arrives.
Oh, wow. So with foresight, your Tingjin detects the intention forming in their lower body.
Yes. You are reacting to the root of the movement, not the final expression of it.
And Dr. Schroeder quotes this legendary Tai Chi principle to summarize that energy may break, but intent must not break.
Right. In the absolute chaos of a fight, your physical connection might momentarily slip.
But your conscious tracking of their skeletal structure remains totally uninterrupted. But, okay, if visual processing is useless and you have to rely entirely on this tactile feedback, I mean, how long does it take for a human brain to actually trust that? Because I imagine the first time a beginner tries this, they still just panic and flinch when they sense a heavy push coming.
Oh, totally. It takes years of really rigorous, highly structured evolution.
You can't just walk into a gym on day 1 and jump into the chaotic freestyle competition we're seeing in the video.
No way. Because adrenaline destroys fine motor skills.
Right.
If you spike a beginner's adrenaline, they will instantly abandon all that internal mechanic stuff and just revert to stiff, muscular lie just to survive.
So you have to start with cooperative foundations.
Absolutely. The manual details these formal drills like fixed step, 4 square, and 9 palace pushing hands.
These are the drills where 2 partners are essentially just making these slow, continuous circles with their arms.
Right. It looks very polite. It looks like they are just cooperating.
But that cooperation is the only way to build the software without triggering the panic response.
Exactly. In that safe, predictable environment, you are learning to sense and actually manifest the 8 fundamental forces of Tai Chi.
Let's actually analyze a couple of those forces to understand how they mechanically manipulate an opponent. The most foundational one is Peng, right?
Right. Often translated as ward off or kind of buoyant energy. But it is not just, holding your arm up with muscle.
It's more than that.
Think of Peng as hydrostatic pressure. It's a structural inflation. Your fascia and connective tissue actually expand outward from the bones, creating this resilient, pressurized frame.
So when an opponent pushes into your Peng,
They don't hit a rigid bone that they can easily break. They hit this pressurized sphere that just effortlessly bears their weight.
wow, contrast that with Lu, or rollback energy. Because if Peng is intercepting force,
Lu is derailing it. You take the incoming kinetic energy of the opponent and you guide it past your skeletal frame.
usually adding like a slight rotational vector so their balance just spirals downward.
Exactly. And you spend countless hours practicing Peng, Lu, and the other forces cooperatively.
But, and this is crucial, if you stop there, you develop what Master Cheng bluntly calls an empty frame.
Yes. You possess this beautiful vocabulary of movement, but you basically only know how to swim on dry land.
Because your partner has always fed you the exact right amount of pressure to make your technique look good.
Right. But an attacker in a dark alley is not going to feed you cooperative energy.
Not at all. Which is exactly why the shift to the competitive freestyle pushing hands, like the match we're watching right now, is mandatory. It's the pressure test.
Right. Competitive pushing hands forces you to apply those 8 fundamental forces against someone who is actively resisting you.
Someone who's actively deceiving you and utilizing their own fa jin to try and uproot you.
Exactly. It asks the question, can you maintain your pressurized Peng structure when someone is violently yanking your collar?
Can you still use Tingjin to truly listen when your heart rate is at, like, 160 beats per minute?
That's the real test. It bridges the gap between the theory and the reality.
But Master Cheng's manuals actually provide a massive reality check right here.
Right.
Even this intense, sweaty, competitive pushing hands is not the final destination. The ultimate goal of all of this training is Sanshu.
Free sparring.
Yes. And this is a really critical distinction that I think gets lost on a lot of modern practitioners who treat pushing hands as just a sport unto itself.
Yeah, they get stuck in the lab.
Right. I mean, if you take a gold medalist in pushing hands, put them in a professional MMA cage, and they try to play a polite game of sticking and yielding,
They're going to get knocked unconscious.
fast. Exactly. Real attackers do not politely walk up, physically connect their wrists to yours, and then wait for you to sense their center of gravity.
No, they throw fast, totally disconnected strikes.
Right. A sudden jab to the jaw does not give you a convenient bridge to stick and follow.
And that stark reality is exactly why Tuisho pushing hands and Sanshu free sparring possess this deeply symbiotic relationship.
They need each other.
Right. Sanshu is the practical application. It's taking the internal biomechanics of Tai Chi and applying them to actual strikes, kicks, joint locks, evasions.
Against a disconnected, fully resisting opponent.
Exactly. You need the hardware and the software.
So if you abandon pushing hands and only practice free sparring, you never actually develop the internal engine.
No, you never develop Ting-Jin or that viscoelastic rooting.
You basically just become a rigid kickboxer, relying purely on lie and just hoping you're younger and stronger than whoever is attacking you.
Exactly. But conversely, if you only practice pushing hands, you develop this profound sensitivity and balance, but you lack a combat delivery system.
You have zero hardware to defend yourself against a barrage of actual street punches.
Right. You use the hardware of Sanshu to actually deliver the highly sophisticated software that you built in Tuisho.
That makes perfect sense. And honestly, it completely changes how you view the video playing in the background.
It really does.
We aren't just watching two athletes wrestle. We are watching the entire evolutionary timeline of a martial art unfold.
Right. We're seeing the internal engine of Neigong, allowing them to absorb massive kinetic force without muscular tension.
And we're seeing the tactile laboratory of pushing hands, where their nervous systems are literally reading each other's skeletal intentions in real time.
And crucially, we are seeing the competitive chaos required to actually forge those skills into functional self-defense.
It is the literal science of outsmarting brute force.
It is. And, Dr. Shooter's research highlights a phenomenon within all this training that actually points to something quite profound.
Oh, yeah, the weapon extension.
Right. In advanced Tai Chi, particularly when utilizing a weapon like the straight sword, the practitioner's proprioceptive awareness eventually extends right past their own hand, moving directly into the metal of the weapon.
So the brain essentially maps the sword as if it were biological tissue.
Yes. They can actually feel the microscopic vibrations of an opponent's blade crossing theirs and instantly register whether that opponent is tense or off balance.
That's incredible. And in pushing hands, that extended proprioception reaches deeply into the opponent's physical body.
Exactly. You are connecting your nervous system to theirs solely so you can truly listen to their intent and yield to it gracefully.
Rather than just meeting it with rigid destruction.
Right.
What a profound mechanism to develop. I mean, if highly trained individuals can literally extend their nervous systems into another human being through physical touch, just to listen to their underlying intent.
It makes you wonder.
It really does. What does it mean for us today, living in a modern society where we almost never physically cooperatively interact to solve conflict?
Right. We sit behind screens.
We type out our rigid arguments. We rarely even share physical space, let alone engage in cooperative physical contact.
Which begs the question, could our modern disconnected lifestyle be actively dulling a fundamental human sense?
Are we losing our neurological capacity to truly listen and yield to the energy of others?
Leaving us with literally no other option but to just constantly crash our rigid, brittle opinions into theirs.
It's definitely something to think about the next time you feel the instinct to just blindly push back.